about it. So I needed to handle it so it wouldn't be in my space.
An issue with one of your coaches.
Yeah, she was saying that she was supposed to have her session this week, and one of my coaches was being unresponsive. Um, so I was like, all right, let me figure this out. I don't like my peeps being uncertain about, are there, I like a high level of service and them knowing that they're being, that they feel taken care of. So I just wanted to give her some peace of mind.
Cool. Nice. What made you move from Chicago to Atlanta?
The weather. Seriously, it was in the middle of a polar vortex. And I woke up one day, I was like, I don't have to live like this. I don't have to be here. And then 2 weeks later, I was in Atlanta.
Wow. You can do that because your business is pretty much, internet driven?
Virtual.
Yeah, I like it.
Me too.
I think that's awesome. Very cool. Let's kick it off and we'll get the conversation going.
Is this going to be video and audio or just audio?
I like it both ways. I like it to be both video and audio.
Okay, cool.
And that way we can put it on YouTube and then we can also put it on Instagram if we want to. We can do a lot of different things.
All right, great.
All right.
Got this weird light on top of me. Let me see if I can get it. Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's not gonna help. All right.
It's okay. I mean, I can't really tell.
Okay, cool.
You still have like an accent. You have like a Southern accent.
You know what? Everybody says that. I remember I didn't know that I had a Southern accent until I went to college. And people would be like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Chicago. And they're like, no, where are you really from? I'm like, I'm from Chicago. But what happens, there was that great migration from the South to the North. And a lot of people from Mississippi went to Chicago. So my family is from Mississippi. And now when I go back, I can hear it. Like I can hear my grandmother's Southern accent. I can hear my aunt's Southern accent, but I never could hear it before. And I certainly cannot hear it with me. I do not have a Southern accent, okay?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to kick it off. This is the Thai Capital Millionaire Podcast. This is episode number 104. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Thai Millionaire. I'm the founder and the director of the Thai Capital Investment Club, also Thai Acquisitions, doing some really cool things over there, turning Thai Capital Investment Club into a subscription-based company, also turning Thai Acquisitions into just a whole mega company. We just acquired a barbershop, looking to acquire more assets this year, and just really get on some Reginald Lewis type stuff. Make sure you leave us a rating or review, preferably a 5-star review. Like, share, subscribe, get the word out, help share this message with anybody who has an ear to hear. So thank you all for tuning in. The purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of successful African-American business owners and investors so that people can hear the stories of successful examples because they do exist despite what the media says. We want people to learn that business and investing are the true keys to financial success and generational wealth. Today we have a special guest. She goes by Latasha Kinnard. She is the chief strategist at GoDest, which you can probably help me pronounce. And so if we need to figure out or be informed based on what that means, what that stands for. But anyway, she's also a #1 Amazon bestselling author of the book 20-something and Rich. Tasha grew up in the south side of Chicago in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the country. After graduating from college, she began her career in corporate America, where she managed $100 million budgets for some of the biggest brands in the world. Now, Tasha uses the skills she learned in corporate America to help her clients maximize their income and create financial systems that reliably increase net worth. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
What does Gotta Stay stand for and mean?
Yeah, so when I first started, my company was called Start Young Financial, right? So simple, it makes sense, right? Start Young Financial. And recently, last year, I did some rebranding and I changed the name to Gotta Stay. And it was because I really wanted a brand that centered women. And it's really about like allowing your self-worth to drive your net worth. And for women, really acknowledging the goddess that is in you. And when I say goddess, I really mean like the power that you have to create the life that you want versus expecting some external force to do it for you, looking inward and allowing that to come forth.
Man, so before I even go into all the questions, you mentioned something I don't want to overlook and I don't want to lose. And you said you allow your self-worth to drive your net worth. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I love talking about that because, in a capitalistic society, and I don't have no problems with capitalism, but you start to feel like you are defined by the work that you do. And your wealth is defined by your self-worth is defined by the work that you do. And I think that's kind of like, that's when we start dangling that carrot in front of us. And it's like, when I get this, I will be X, Y, and Z. But if you don't step into who you are, who you know that you are already, you're never going to get all those things that you want. So it's about, a state of being before it's about a state of doing. So that's what I mean. Like, allow the self-worth, allow your knowledge of self, your love of self, you knowing that you're worthy of wealth and all that stuff, allow that to put you in a position for inspiration, motivation, ideas, knowing that you can go and get it, so that your actions are driven by faith instead of fear.
I like it. I relate that to materialism, in that a lot of people become materialistic because they feel as though the thing that they buy makes them somebody. And so what I feel is that you have to already kind of feel like you are enough, which then allows you to not go out there and waste money on things that typically don't even really get you what you want, because it's like a cycle of, oh, have the newest J's, and you got to get the newest J's. You got to get the newest J's. So it's a constant rat race and cycle. However, if you feel content in yourself, it allows you to take all that new J money and stack it and then throw it at an opportunity. And so you can't get there unless you do have self-worth just in who you are as you exist. So I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's where you're going to go. That's really cool. So I told people we'd be talking about a current event weekly, so I try to keep up that tradition.
Okay.
The post was by Lil Duval. A lot of our current events are driven by social media. Lil Duval, where he made the comment that he doesn't believe in credit. He doesn't really live by credit. He doesn't care what his credit score is. He's more so concerned with if he can pay for something in cash. So what are your comments on that whole idea?
I have two different thoughts about it based on where you are in life. So on one hand, I definitely think people should be out here leveraging credit, but I don't like to say that because people can, not to say that I don't trust y'all, but y'all can be irresponsible listeners sometimes. So you got to be in a position to be leveraging credit. And the fact is that most people are not in that position. They're in a position where debt is not going to help build them up. It's not going to build up their assets. It's going to dig them in a hole. And so primarily, I like to talk about staying away from debt. And, because to me, when you're getting into debt, you are paying people to use their money. Why are you going to pay somebody else to use their money because you don't have money? That just means you're going to help them build wealth while you're digging yourself into poverty. It don't make no sense.
Right.
So from that perspective, I'm like, yes, I'm about it. I like it. From another perspective, though, you also want to know that, really wealthy people often leverage debt to grow their assets. And if your debt is making you money, that's a whole different story, right? So I think about it in both of those ways. You can use debt to leverage it and help it make you money. But if the debt ain't making you money, don't leave it alone. Go to Lil Duval route. Use cash.
Right. I like it. I don't think that people even discuss that. They immediately just jumped on the buying a car, buying your own personal residence. We didn't talk about investing with debt, leveraging debt to, acquire a business or acquire property or acquire all these different things that are, quote, good debt. versus bad debt. So the debt that takes money out of your pocket versus the debt that puts money into your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's interesting. So what was life like growing up that brought you to where you are now, being this financial wizard?
That's such a good question, and I love to talk about it. So for me, I grew up in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the country. It's in the bottom 5 for economic mobility. It's called Cook County in Illinois. And growing up poor is not the worst thing in the world when you're a child, because I grew up in a subsidized housing neighborhood where all my friends live right next to me. Like, it's a friend down the block, it's a friend next door. I go to school with my friends, I jump rope with my friends, I dance outside with my friends. And so that, from that perspective, it was really awesome. But I can definitely remember that there was a condition of life that wasn't what I wanted. So I grew up in a home with parents who both had addictions. And I try to talk about that very carefully, because I don't ever want to vilify my parents. I love my parents, and they did the best that they could with what they had. And they both had addictions. One had an addiction to alcohol, the other had an addiction to gambling. So it was like having a parent who was present and not present, and then, being broke a lot of the time. And so what that meant was that I had to grow up really fast. And I can remember some of the moments that really defined how I think about money today. I can remember always wanting to know how I could access money around me with or without my parents. So my mom would have these jars of change around the house, and nobody knew how much was in those jars but me. So people would, really overlook the fact that we had these jars of change, but I always knew how much money was in them, so that if I needed to get to school, I knew where to go to get to school. Or if I needed to make sure that me and my siblings could eat that day, I knew that I could go and get some money to go to the store. And you would look at these jars, and they wouldn't, it's just change. You don't really know how much you could make with that. But I would literally sit on the floor and make mountains of, like, I would put the pennies together to make these rows of 10, and then put 10 of those together to make dollars. And then I would literally just count up how much money was there. And I remember learning that, it doesn't matter how much money you have, every single amount of money, it starts with a penny. And that was so inspiring to me, and something that, I took with me into my teenage years and into my adult years. And it really planted the seed for, it doesn't matter how much you have, any amount of money can grow, even if it starts with a penny.
I like that. I like it a lot. What did you do in between, like, college and starting your business? And, well, I guess my question is, like, what are some of the takeaways from corporate America that allow you to start your business? Like, what lessons did you learn in working for somebody else, if any?
Whew, there's so many. It's not a place I'm going to go that I don't learn a lesson. So there is no, if any, everywhere I go, everything I do, I'm going to extract some form of value out of it. And my time in corporate America was so valuable, and so different, right? So we just got through talking about how I grew up. So I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and then I get a job, in corporate America, working for a Fortune 50 company. It's like night and day for me. The first, one of my first experiences on the job is, like, I get this checkbook for $3 million, and I'm expected to, responsibly invest $3 million. And I'm like, are y'all sure you want me to spend $3 million? Like, you sure? Whew. It's a whole different ball game. And so there are a lot of different lessons that I learned, and I'm going to just think about some of the ones that were most important to me. So one of the most important things that I learned in corporate America is it's up to me to create spaces where I can experience freedom, right? Sometimes I felt out of place because I'm this, young girl from the ghetto, and everybody else around me is not. And it made me feel like I had to be something else. I call it, I put on my white face, I put on my white voice. And what I learned is that it doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve the people around me when I don't feel safe enough to offer who I am. And so ever since then, I've just been having myself be comfortable in my own skin and allowing that to be my gift to the people around me. That's one thing that I learned from corporate America. Some really tactical things that I learned in corporate America was like every day that I walked into my job, my boss was expecting me to know how much money I had in the bank, period, and to be accountable for every single penny that I spent. So even if my account was $3 million that week or $5 million that week, I had to be accountable for every single penny. And that's millions of dollars. And I look at how people manage their hundreds of dollars, and it is with much less meticulousness. You would think, all right, a company has $5 million, maybe they don't care about what happens to a couple thousand. No, they want to know that every single dollar is used productively. And I use that when I work with my clients. I want to know every single dollar should have a purpose. And one of the other things I learned in corporate America was this idea of Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and you want to be prepared. So when I'm creating financial plans for my clients, I'm like, look, we need that emergency fund, and we need to be thinking about what about different contingencies if this happens. So if you were to lose your job, what then? Thinking about what are the different things that could happen. If your car was to break down, what then? So now we've thought about all of the different things that could happen, and we have a plan in place. Let me see if there's one more thing. I can't think of anything else right now. Those are the big ones.
When did you, or how did you start your business?
How did I start my business? I would say slowly but surely. So, these days being a coach is a popular thing. When I started out like 6-7 years ago, I was very much far removed from that. And it doesn't seem, from my recollection, it wasn't like the popping thing to do. It wasn't so popular where everybody wanted to be a coach, and there were so many mentors to help you figure out how to build the business. So when I was first starting, I was not in that world of mentorship or anything like that. And so I literally had to figure it out on my own. So I would spend so much time learning and researching and doing all these things. When I left my job, I was working more than ever. I was probably working 16-hour days, but it was doing something that was really important to me. So I think over time, I started to figure out what worked. I started to figure out systems, but all throughout my journey, there was one thing that was consistent. And the reason why I've never had to go back and get a job, it doesn't matter how confused I was about what I should be doing. The one thing I did know is that I should always be looking at revenue generating activities. What are those activities that are going to help me put money in my pocket today? And I should be focused on that every single day, no matter how confused I am about everything else. I know how to get on the phone with somebody and say, hey, this is how I can provide value for you. And that's what having a business is about. So I wouldn't say that I built a business in the most orthodox way. And to be honest, I kind of feel like I'm just now finding my niche, building my systems, making my money, and growing my business. But I always focus on revenue generating activities.
So would you say that as the face of your brand, as the CEO, it's more so your job to bring in the business, and then it's the back end, the support staff, their job to do the work of supporting that business?
Well, first, for most business owners who are going to start off, you're going to be the face and the support. So for a long time, and when I say long time, I mean up until last month, okay, I was the face and I was the support. So that means I was doing business development, and I was doing product delivery, and I was doing fulfillment, right? Fulfilling on the promises of what I said I would deliver. Mm-hmm. And so you want to be able to balance those activities. Like if you read the book, Not the 4-Hour Work Week. What's the name of that book? It's a fundamental business book. It's white and blue, I think.
Blue? It's E-Myth.
E-Myth. See? Yeah, exactly. If you read the E-Myth, he talks about the different hats that you need to wear in your business. And you can't just wear one hat. You can't just wear the entrepreneurial hat and not wear the manager hat and not wear the action taker hat. You got to be wearing all three. And so looking at that schedule and saying, okay, today I'm doing managerial activities. This day I'm doing, business development activities. This day I'm taking action to serve my clients. In the beginning, that's probably what you're going to be doing. And then as you grow and you have a team, you work where your strengths are. My strength is in sales because I have an excellent product and I know how to communicate the value of that product. And when I get on the phone, it's nothing for me to have somebody purchase it. And what my team does is they deliver it, and that's what they're good at. So that's kind of how I work it.
Yeah, I like it. Well, the reason why I ask is because when you're in the beginning phase of your business, I feel like in certain regards, you can not be able to generate as much revenue because you're doing the revenue generating and you're doing the fulfillment. And so my goal is, and my thought process is like, hey, let me just hire out the fulfillment. And I just strictly focus on the only thing I wake up doing is bringing in business. That's it. And I wonder how far I could get.
I like that idea, except it's like you have to balance, right? Because I don't have any other source of income. This is what I do full time. So I have to be putting on my business development hat and fulfillment hat, or I did before, every single day to make sure that I'm bringing in enough money to sustain me. But then you get caught up in that cycle and then you never have room for growth and expansion. So at some point you got to be like, all right, it's time for me to grow. It's time for me to hire some people, and get creative, right? I always lead with my vision. My vision is to create a world where women and working professionals don't have to be worried and stressed out about money because they know that they have financial systems that are working in the background, that are working for them and supporting them. And when you lead with your vision, then you can get people who are on board with your vision and just want to genuinely support what you're doing. I know we're in the age of like capitalistic exchange, but there are still people out there who do heart-centered work where they're not just looking for money, but they're looking for how they can be involved. And that's why I love, like when I was in college, could you imagine how much stuff get done in college? Because people aren't worried about, will you pay me? They're worried about, what do I love to do? Let me go do that. So I think any business owner can start outsourcing and creating the conditions for their growth, no matter how much they're making.
Nice. I like it because it reminds me of the whole start with why principle. And it's a lot of what I do. Like your vision is your why. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And so for me, like I've always told people that like the goal of what we do isn't necessarily to make money. We just happen to make money doing it. The goal is to create generational wealth through teamwork, basically. And so I haven't really like boiled it all down, but
that sounded pretty boiled down to me.
I can connect with you on that level and I can see how that works. So that's really cool. So my next question is, what motivated you to get started?
Seeing people in poverty up close and personal, and not just when I was living in the ghetto, right? But
and I think also it's that, but it's also the dichotomy of what you said earlier, where you see people who have it and you've been exposed to it. And then you also see people who don't have it. You're like, man, how can I connect my people with this?
And also for me, it was like, I'm working in corporate America, and y'all have a better lifestyle, but you got better cash flow, but you still ain't got no net worth. You got just as money in the bank as my mama and my daddy do while they living in subsidized housing. Where is the disconnect? And I was like, wow, if this is what the future looks like, we're going to be in trouble. Like, you have money to pay your bills, but you have no money to build for the future. And I was like, that is quite problematic. And I've been creating financial systems since I was 10 years old. By the time I was 13 years old, I had more money than anybody else in my house. I had so much money that my dad was like, where is all this money coming from? And he asked me if I was accepting money from boys at school. Like, how weird is that? Like, no, I'm just sticking to a budget and creating a financial plan and executing it. And so I've been doing that since before I was a teenager. And I was like, I can help these people save their money. I can help them invest in their 401k. I can help them do this. And I love creating systems. I create systems for my business, for other businesses. That's what part of my job in corporate America was, creating systems. And when you put systems behind a plan, it's so much better. And I say, I don't want your financial future to be based on your willpower. I don't want it to be based on how you feel today. Because if you think, so first, your brain is built and wired for instant gratification. And we act like we're going to beat out millions of years of evolution by our strong willpower. And it's just not going to happen. So that's why I love creating systems and helping my clients do that, so they don't have to worry about it. Because I don't trust them to. And not because, they're bad people, but because they're human beings. And that's the nature of being a human being.
Can you share with us what a good financial system looks like?
I can. So a good financial system, I'm going to start with a basic budget, because this is where I think, a lot of people feel that budgets are restrictive. And I think budgets are very sexy. If you see somebody who's taking care of their business, they walk different when they got money in the bank. If you see a man who is financially secure, he's going to carry himself differently than a man who is financially insecure. Confidence is sexy, and budgets allow for confidence. And not only that, but your budget is the blueprint to what you say you want. Nobody else said that they wanted it. You the one who said you wanted it. And now you want to come talking about the budget is restrictive. Well, do you want what you say you want or not? Yeah. So when I'm creating these budgets, the first place that I start, and it's very simple, every single budget is going to start with the income, because your income is what allows your entire financial ecosystem to work. Right? It's like the flood of resources, the flood of potential that comes in. Without any income, there is no very little potential. So you get that income coming in, and now you got to figure out, how am I spending it? So the system that I use with my clients focuses on 3 different things first. First, you're going to look at your expenses. Then you're going to look at your bills, and then you're going to look at your debt. I call this your spending plan. So money is coming in, and then money is going out. Most people create their budget as like one big document, but I break it up. So first you have your income that is bringing money in, and then you have your expenses that are taking money out. And the thing I love about this equation is that it is so simple. It's not rocket science. If you want to have more money left over at the end of the day, you got to do one of 2 things, or both of them. You either got to make more money, or you got to spend less money. It's not like, it don't take Einstein. It's so simple. So now, you've got your income, you've looked at your spending, you've reduced it where you can, and now you see how much money you have left over at the end of the day. And I don't like to overlook that. That to me is the most important number in your finances, because now it tells you, this is how much money I have to build with. I've paid off my bills. I've done what I needed to do with my debt. I've done all of these things. Now, how much do I have available to really start to build with? And now that you see this number, you can be like, you know what? This is a number that's worthy of who I am and what I'm up to. Or you could be like, I really needed to get it together, because this little $100 ain't going to get me nowhere. But now that you know how much it is, you can start to do one of 3 things. And I like to keep it so simple. You're either going to start saving for your future, or investing to make your money work for you, or you're going to start paying down debt so you can reduce your debt liability. And it's so simple. And when you start to do those things, now, it doesn't matter whether you're saving, investing, or paying down debt, your net worth is increasing, right? And
right.
The important thing is to figure out, how are you going to juggle those 3 things, saving, investing, and paying down debt? In what order does it make sense for you to do that? So looking at the order and really creating the financial system to make that happen is what I do with my clients.
So I wasn't trying to be rude, but I had to put you on InstaSnap.
Okay.
So you mentioned something that I like, and I want to talk about it. You mentioned saving, investing, and paying down debt. There's a common question that I get asked all the time, and the question is, should I pay off all my student loans before I invest, either in stocks or in real estate? What do you think they should do?
I love this question so much because first and foremost, I want to say, fuck them student loans. Just want to get that out on record as saying that. So let me say it again. Fuck those student loans, okay? I'm sorry. This is probably a family-operated podcast. Nevertheless, definitely be paying the minimum on those student loans because you don't want to ruin whatever you got going on, but you just want to pay the minimum. And when it comes to loans and all that stuff, you know, should you be building your emergency fund? Should you be investing? You got to look at where do your account stand first and foremost. If you ain't got no emergency fund, I don't care what else you got going on. You got to build that up. You have no safety net, no security, and you're completely wide open. So you need to build that up. But when it comes to, you know, building for the future versus paying down debt, if you try to focus on paying down debt, you probably will be in debt for the rest of your life.
Right.
If you focus on building up assets, now your assets can help you pay off your debt much quicker. And I think assets are future built, are future driven. Debts is about the past. So just pay the minimum on that, build up those assets so that you can really start getting some forward momentum.
Right. If you, and that's the thing about it is like everybody always wants to make the comparison between your debt interest and your ROI. And I don't think that's a fair comparison because if you do it right, your ROI should far surpass anything that you're paying on your debt. So say, for example, you do a deal and I mean, some of the homes we do, we're getting like a 40% ROI on those homes. My business is an infinite ROI because I literally make money just for being me. So it's like I can make double my salary in my business because I took the time to build my business and invest in my business as opposed to saying, well, once I get these loans out of the way, then I'll start getting financially free. So I get financially free and then circle back and handle that, but still, of course, pay the minimum.
And the thing is, like, it's not, you have to move beyond the paper. People be looking at money on paper all the time. That don't work. Because listen, when you build up money in the bank, when you have money in the bank, you can use that money. But when you pay off your debt, your money is gone. Like that money is gone. Yes, it has improved your overall net worth, but that potential for growth is gone.
Right. That's very true. I think that's one of the things that people don't realize in investing as well is investing isn't spending money. Like investing really is just like taking your savings and putting it over here and watching it grow, or putting your savings in a property and watching it grow, or watching it cash flow you back your money.
Right. Yeah, it's still there. But when you pay off your debt, it's gone. That money is gone.
Right. That's a very good point.
The bank, they're not giving it back to you because you want to do something different.
Right. So the consensus on almost every financial expert that I've talked to is F them loans. So I know you're qualified to do this, but I kind of want to qualify you and ask you what qualifies you to be a personal finance expert.
That's a really good question. Hold on, I need to charge my computer.
All right.
So first and foremost, I want to say, the tongue-in-cheek answer that I would give is that I qualify myself. But the real answer, is I grew up on the south side of Chicago learning how to create something from nothing as a way of life. Like as a lifestyle, I know how to create something from nothing to survive. And that's just one aspect. Like I said, I've been creating financial systems since I was 10 years old, successful financial systems that have allowed me to be consistently the richest person in my family since the age of 13, right? And that's probably the most important to me because it was so self-driven. But then beyond that, I have degrees from Washington University in St. Louis in psychology and education, which is so important to the work that I do because I help my clients take topics that might be difficult or intimidating, and I make them super easy to understand. And I help my clients create financial systems that don't work against them, but that work with their natural psychology and with their personality to produce real, sustainable, and forward-moving results. And then finally, just working in corporate America with millions of dollars a day, being focused on modeling and creating financial systems and being responsible for profitability and bottom lines, and being the person who, when I walk into the room, people know that we're about to save money, whether they like it or not, because you would be surprised. In corporate America, their goal is not always to make the most money. You would be surprised how often I hear, well, how did we do it last year? And I'm like, I'm very unconcerned about that. I want to know, how can I make us the most profitable right now? So that's what I would say. Those are what I would say is my qualifications. Not to mention, I've been doing this for 6 years. And I think that's my best expertise because I have really refined a system that works, right? And it's so simple because I've been fine-tuning it for years. And I'm very good at what I do.
Awesome. What does your typical client look like?
My typical client is a 30-something-year-old woman. And increasingly, I've been getting younger women too. So I would say 25 to 39. And they have a good job. They're making good money, but they're wasting it. So let's say they made $80,000 last year. When you look at their bank account, they have very little to nothing to show for it. And they want to change that. So they have these resources that are available and they want to start being more productive with it. And that's what my overall client profile looks like. My average client is increasing their net worth, not necessarily saving, but in some shape or form, they're increasing their net worth by $1,000 a month, which I'm really proud of because if you look at the statistics, most Americans don't even have $1,000 in the bank. Right. But the thing that connects them and the thing that I'm looking for and that I won't even work with you without is the ambition and the drive and the desire. I don't care how much your income is. If you have the ambition, the drive, and the desire, that's what I care most about.
What are some of the reasons why you see people who are making good money and they're still broke?
Well, it's not like this is relegated to some people. 76% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm sorry, it's 78%. 2 years ago, that number was 76%, which is really scary to me because that means that that number is growing. The number of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, that number is growing. And if you want to know why, it's very simple. People can't be bothered to be intentional with their money. And it makes my job very simple, really, because I just come in and bring some intentionality and some systems and problem automatically solved. It's a no-brainer. And it's with very little disruption to their overall life. I come in and I say, listen, give me 20% of whatever you're making, and I will do what I need to do. You continue doing what you're doing with the 80%. I won't bother you, but don't bother my 20%, and we're going to make this work. And that's on a minimum, right? I'm going to look at their whole finances and figure out if we can do more than that. But it's just because, they lack the intention and the know-how. So I bring in the intention and I bring in the know-how, and all of a sudden, people who didn't have any money in the bank last year, next year they have $12,000 in the bank, and it was simple,
I know I've seen you mention this on Twitter, and you said something along the lines of you like when you run into men who want to be your clients. Can you expand on that statement?
Oh man, men are I actually love working with men because they're so the drive in that they're so action oriented. Like I give them an assignment, the assignment gets done. Like boom. Now what I will say though is the assignment gets done when they can see the value. The part where I don't like working with men is that sometimes they think they know more than I do. I'm like, I can remember I had a client and I'm like, look, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, if you do that, this is what's going to happen. He's like, man, I know you're saying I shouldn't do it, but I'm going to do it. And then he did. He's like, you know what? You were right. I'm like, yeah, I know. You pay me for my expertise, like you should probably listen to me. And I run into that sometimes too. But when we're on the same page, things flow so effortlessly and so flawlessly. And men who tend to work with me are men who enjoy the presence of women. And I like men who enjoy the presence of women. And so it works.
One of the things you said is something that I try to get people to understand. And it's actually something I think Jay Morrison's mentioned. It's like being the expert at hiring experts. And I always tell my mom, like, in dealing with a financial advisor or a financial planner or anybody, you're not only getting their knowledge, you're also getting this like long body of work of the people they've worked with and how they've seen things work for them. So for example, if you are an investment advisor, then they don't just know your portfolio. You only know your own portfolio, but they know 100 other people's investments and what they're doing that works. So wow. I think that's very, very key.
I've never thought about that, but yeah, that's so true.
What is a common problem that you see in working with people?
I'm so glad that you asked that because that's where I wanted to go next. And I don't know if this is exactly the answer to your question, but the number one problem that people have when they come to me is that they spent too much money on their car and now they're underwater. They thought they were living a good life. They thought they had enough cash flow. They wanted to get a good car. Now they have a $500 car note, $200 in expenses, and they have to pay for gas. And all of a sudden, they don't have any cash flow available. And now they're looking at me like, can you help me? I mean, yeah, but you're going to have to really do some damage to this budget right here. You're not going to like it. But you got a car, though. You got a nice car, though. I hope that comforts you. And, I mean, it's a little shade, but those car salesmen ain't nothing to play with. I'm coming to realize because I'm like, who got you to sign this deal? It's an awful deal. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I try to think about ways like, okay, can I get them out of this? Can we refinance this? But most of the time it's like the damage is done. That's the biggest problem that I see with people who come to me. Now, the biggest thing that they do right that we don't talk about enough, most people are not out here living on their own, and we don't talk about that enough. It is probably the biggest saving grace of a lot of people who want to build wealth is that they don't have to spend a lot of money in rent yet. They want to get there, and we're building to that, but they're not there yet. And it allows them to have so much more discretionary income than, if $1,500 was going to an apartment. Now that $1,500 is automatically being used more productively so that they can build up their emergency fund, they can build up their investments, and when they go out on their own, they will never have to come back.
That's cool. How do you, because I know this is people are wondering about this. They're like, man, I can't afford to hire somebody to help me get my finances in order. I'm barely making it as is. How do you be compensated for your work, but also help them progress financially?
Well, I firmly believe that, nobody can really tell me that they can't afford my services because I'm somebody who grew up in extreme poverty and could find a way to afford anything that I wanted to do. And this is America. This is America. You can find a way to do what you want to do. But for those people who feel like, they really can't, I literally have services for every single budget. And I don't even always promote them. I value my services so much that you almost gotta have a conversation with me to get them, because I don't even I have a $27 a month product, but I don't even like to promote it because it's like, I'm a Rolls Royce brand. I want to be a Rolls Royce brand. I don't even want everybody to know I got a Toyota product out there. You gotta be willing to have a conversation with me, and then I will offer it to you when I realize you need it. So I want to build up that product more, because I realize that everybody isn't going to be willing to get on the phone and have a conversation with me, but I do have something that's available to everybody. So
how does somebody build up a Rolls Royce level brand?
Well, I haven't really, I'm in the process of building that up.
I just think that sounds really cool. Like, I want to be a Rolls Royce brand.
The way that you do that, and my boyfriend really helped me with this, and I gotta say that because having a partner, man, it's so awesome.
Yeah, it is.
But what he did for me is got me so clear about what I can offer and what I cannot. So many businesses are trying to offer stuff that they can't offer well. Everything that I offer, I can offer very well. So, he had to tell me, like, you are not in control of the financial markets, so you can't promise that you are. What you are in control of is X, Y, and Z. This is what you can promise. This is what you can deliver. And this is what you can stand on. And when I was like, man, I can stand on this. And not only can I stand on this, but I can require that when I'm working with my employees, that this is what we're promising and this is what we will deliver. And there's no question about it. And if something happens, we can re-promise, but we're always standing behind something. So when you do that, it's like, I can charge whatever I want because I'm making you a promise that I'm going to keep. This is not some pie in the sky financial conversation with a financial advisor who may make you 10% or not. I get to say what I make. I tell my people, this is how much you're going to save in 12 months. Are you interested or not? I don't sell anything. And that's how I got a Rolls Royce brand. I'm like, I know what I'm doing now.
I like listening to you talk. You have a very forceful presence.
What do you mean? I'm like 5'2".
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm so cute and petite.
That's what happens when you're 5'2". You gotta bring it out of you. Are you standing up right now?
I am.
Oh wow, that's funny. I thought you were sitting down.
Oh wow, thanks a lot.
No, but it's really cool because you said something that I like, and it's something that I battle with a lot because that's what people in doing what I do. People always want a guaranteed promise. They want me to say, "Oh, we're going to make this much on this property." So now I have to think about what I can do that I can guarantee and I can stand behind. Like, I can't guarantee you this property is going to cash flow because we don't know what's going to happen. We might have a roof that goes bad. We might have a furnace that goes bad. But I can promise whatever. I got to figure it out.
Exactly. That's the key. That is the key right there. And even when I'm starting branches of my business, like we're going into tax planning, I'm like, okay, what do I want to promise here? And that's, that'll be the crux of that business. And now I can feel really confident.
What do I want? I'm writing that down. What do I want to promise here?
Yeah, that's good.
I like that a lot. That's so dope. What is your best advice for someone who is struggling financially?
My best advice for somebody who is struggling financially is pretty woo-woo. And I would say, think non-struggle thoughts. Because there might be a struggle in reality, but you don't have to struggle in your mind. And people think that when I talk about what's happening in your mind, that it's woo-woo, but you got to know, not only did I study psychology, but I have a concentration in neuroscience and linguistics. So there's a connection between what you think and what you say and how your brain is forming cells, how those cells are connecting. When you are thinking about your struggles and you're thinking about your problems, all you're doing is allowing your brain
Uh, all right. Sorry about that. Dang, you were on a roll too. Well, I'm recording in, I forget, I don't know what you would really call this area, but somebody walked in. It was a security guard and he was asking questions about the Wi-Fi.
Cool.
Anyway.
So,
non-struggle thoughts.
Yeah, when you are thinking about your struggles and thinking about the problems, all you're doing is creating further neural connectivity for those problems to manifest in reality. Not like in some fake way, but that's what your brain is thinking about. And so now it trains you to focus on that and to create more of that. But when you start to think about, different, I like this quote that says you can't create the solution with the same type of thinking that created the problem. Mm-hmm. So when you start thinking about what it would be like to be financially free, or what it would be like if you could pay all your bills, what it would be like if you had more money in the bank, your brain starts to wire itself to look for opportunities, to think about how that could happen. And now, because you've been thinking about that, when you have that impulse purchase, your brain might be like, nah, that's not the move, because you've been training it to do something different. So I would say non-struggle thoughts. And then, if you can move in with somebody that you love, do that. Like if you can move in with your mom and pay, I always say move in with your mom and dad. And if you can give them $400 a month that they can put away towards retirement, man, that's a win-win. You are saving, $600 to $1,000 of rent. They get an extra $400 a month to put in their retirement account, which they need, and everybody's a winner. Those are the two biggest things that are going to impact, the trajectory of your financial life and your lifestyle.
That's dope. I love that non-struggle thought. It's funny because in hearing you say that, I'm reminded in all the kind of arguments we get into online, because I feel like in a lot of ways, that's my theory is like, yeah, we know this happened. Yeah, we know this exists, but why do we keep talking about it? Why don't we talk about what we can do? Why don't we talk about what we have done that was right? So I love that.
People really fail to realize that, the problem happened and it's real and we don't want to diminish it, but when we focus on it, it just continues to perpetuate itself. It doesn't allow us to move beyond anything, and it's really not helpful. And people are addicted to feeling bad and to being a victim. Like it's an addiction for us. Gotta let that go.
Let it go. Wow. So you wrote a book. Can you talk to us about some of the topics you discuss in that book?
I actually wrote 2 books. So I have one book called 20 Something and Rich, and I have one book called Make It Rain, 12 Steps to Budgeting and Financial Freedom. I absolutely love both of them. I really need to go ahead and update the 20 Something and Rich because I don't promote it because, to be honest, there are some typos in there that make me cringe, but the book is gold. It's almost like talking to a best friend who knows a lot about money. I like to be really unassuming because I don't got to be no type of way to be smart as shit. Like, I just am. And so I can talk to you like a real person and connect with you in a way that you can relate. And that's what the book 20 Something and Rich does. It's going to talk to you that no matter who you are, you're going to be like, yeah, I need to do this. And I am not about giving you a whole lot of information just because I can. I'm like, okay, I know all of this stuff. How can I condense it as much as possible to give you what you need? So that's 20 Something and Rich. And then Make It Rain. That book, it has 12 steps to financial freedom. It has different topics like budgeting, investing, real estate, and you can skip around and figure out, okay, where am I in my life right now? And what chapters do I need to read? Because I like it to be as efficient as possible. If you are not trying to buy a house right now, maybe you're not reading that chapter right now. You can focus on budgeting and investing. But they're both really incredible and something like that I'm really proud of.
That's cool. And where can they find those books again?
Amazon. You can go on Amazon and put in 20 something and rich and Make It Rain, 12 Steps to Financial Freedom.
Are those both physical or and Kindle
Yeah,
version
they're
too?
both physical. No Kindle version though.
Dang. Okay. We got to get those.
I know. I got to work on that.
We'll have the links in the show notes, so anybody can find the links in the show notes. Well, so these are the last few questions, and then I'll let you go. The first one is, what is your favorite business book?
Oh, let's see what I got over here. I like to keep it simple. So E-Myth is one of my favorite books. Think and Grow Rich was probably like my foundational business book. And there's a chapter in there called Sexual Transmutation that I don't think gets enough credit, that you guys should really take a look at. And why you gotta be especially men? Huh? Explain yourself.
Well, I can only speak from a man's perspective. I don't know about women, so.
But I'm the one who suggested it, so especially women.
I thought that chapter was more so focused on men, but
you would think that. But the idea of sexual transmutation is actually more geared towards women, because women are the ones who bring creative energy into a space, because we are the portals and vessels for creation in the world. So it's just about but that's why there's that yin and yang energy and that connection that can create so much productivity. And that's something that really resonates with me. I love working with men in business. It really gets my creative mind flowing. So that, and then this is a book by Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo. And I love it because it talks about the power of your thoughts. So it's not necessarily a business book, but I think your mindset is probably one of the most important things in being a successful business owner. So this book is about making your mind matter. That's the subtitle. But it's you can create your reality just by being mindful of your thoughts. And that's something that really appeals to me. So those are my top 3.
Nice. Who is somebody that you look up to and why?
You know what? I remember somebody asking me that when I was in high school. There are people I guess I look up to, but I just don't roll like that. Who do I look up to? I feel like it's really horrible that I don't have a person that I look up to, because it's not that I think that I know everything by any means. I actually think that I can learn so much from anybody in any situation, but I don't think I have that one role model. Maybe energies that I really connect to is Muhammad Ali. He has such a braggadocious presence, and he worked so hard, or he worked so hard to get to where he wanted to be, and the way in which he believed in himself is so inspiring to me. I love Beyonce. I'm not a Beehive member or anything like that, but she's a fellow Virgo, and her level of excellence is something that I really aspire to. The way that she focuses on every detail and puts so much of herself into everything that she does. Man, I really admire that. So that's what comes to mind for me right now.
Mm-hmm. Nice. What does wealth mean to you?
This is easy to me. Wealth means freedom, period. I want people to have the freedom to be who they are and to do what they want to do and to go where they want to go in a way that's unrestricted by money. Money often restricts us in so many areas. If you notice, people feel like they can't be who they are because they're relying on somebody else to give them a paycheck or to, pay for them in some type of way. And now all of a sudden they got to act this way. Or They can't, because they got to work for money, they don't have time to travel or spend with family and things like that. So in my mind, wealth is just about freedom.
Nice. What sets apart successful people with money from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Man, I think it can be a very thin line. As somebody who has been on that precipice of like, is this really gonna work? Do I have what it takes? And I consider myself to be somebody who is relentlessly confident and aggressive and powerful. And to know that I have those moments where I'm like crying and like, I don't know if I can do this. This is too much. Or how am I gonna survive this month? Honestly, in my mind and in my world, it's not this huge grand difference. Like, people who are successful are just so much more smarter or so much more resilient. It's just when other people go through all of that and say, okay, I'm just gonna give up, we don't. So honestly, I think it's a craziness there. I think that there's some insanity to being successful, because you have to be willing to bet on yourself against all the odds. You look at all the odds, they're not stacked in your favor, and you're like, I'm gonna just do it anyway.
Right. I like it. Very cool. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they find your product? Where can they find your brands?
You can find my brand at goddessstay.com. That's GODESTE.com. And I don't know, you can, the website is a good place, and you can email me at l.kinnard@gmail.com. You can find me there. I'm always checking that email account. And then you can always find me on Twitter at finances, at finance, FINANCESIS.
Nice. Very cool. This is episode number 104. Thank you again for coming on. If you guys have any, I don't know, you know where to find us, www.capitaltodd.com, at Todd Millionaire on Instagram and Twitter, at Todd Investments on Instagram. Doing great things. Check out the store at gumroad.com/Todd Capital. Support the show. We're looking for sponsors. So if you are interested in sponsoring the show, email us at info@capitaltodd.com. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, signing off.